So you did no preparation. That's just so not what I wanted. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, party people in the place to be, everybody. To my right, I have Daniel Walter. Ain't no S. DW.
Hey, how we doing?
When you're in trouble, you call DW.
Yep, you got it. That's me.
Darkwing Chuck, to my right. The future president of the United States.
No way, man.
Daniel, how are you, brother?
Good, man. Good to be with you.
Good. We made it. I'm excited. I can't believe we're doing this.
Absolutely. Yep, we've talked about it for a few years.
We have.
So it's good to finally be on stage with you.
We've been friends for...
This is my personal record, my PR.
28 years?
30, bro.
30 years.
Yeah.
Damn.
30 years.
I've been thinking a lot about our relationship. And we'll get into that later. But today we are reviewing this book called Tribe by Sebastian Junger. This is going to be our book club. We would love for you guys to read the next book that we decide to do together. I don't know what that will be. Do you have any premonitions what that might be?
No, not yet. We'll have to hear some feedback.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll get something
We'll
good.
let you guys know. I'm really excited to talk about this subject, this book. Ironically enough, my buddy Anton, who was on my previous podcast, on my previous channel, this subject would come up a lot, of community and how when we grew up, our parents would just throw parties and they would just throw us in the basement together. We'd just be up till 2, 3 a.m. or whatever. And there wasn't this over-parenting, and how they would hang out on weekdays and they were like a true tribe. And how that seems to be dead in our current society, is currently constructed. Even in my culture, being Persian, it's not nearly what it was back in the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that as our society develops, especially in a system like ours where individualism is really pressed upon us as something that we value, it becomes harder and harder to kind of let go of self and get together.
Yeah.
It takes a sacrifice to be a community. You know?
Yeah.
It takes sacrifice to get together with your families or loved ones and friends. And yeah, I completely agree. My wife, she is Latina, and she says the same thing about hers. She grew up with 50 deep cousins, big family parties, and extended family, you know? And now she always wonders, like, man, why don't we do reunions? Why don't we do that like we used to? So
even they've kind of gone the path of my family, where they're not as tight in this generation as they were in the previous generation.
Exactly. Yep.
That's so sad. Can you say I love pineapples in Spanish? Real quick.
Me encanta piñas.
Okay. See, so just to let you guys know, this guy speaks Spanish, okay? We'll do Chinese in the next episode, but come on, man. Me encanta piñas. Okay, what do you got for me? Let's talk about Tribe.
So, okay, this gets into it pretty quickly. This first chapter is one of the most outstanding first chapters of a book I've read in a long time.
Yes.
And this is kind of a reoccurring theme in a lot of different literature these days. The clash of cultures. Globalization is a big deal. Not right now, especially with social media and the internet. You know, energies are coming together so much more easily than in the past. But when groups come together, you have to figure out how it works. It's not easy just to have cultures collide, right? We've had a long history of conquest and imperialization, and a lot of the history of humans moving throughout the earth has been ugly. A lot of it has been good, but it's been a mixture.
Right.
And so in this first chapter, it's just remarkable because he talks about the clash of the native indigenous people to this part of the country, the United States, and the European settlers. And the amount of accounts of people leaving. Well, I mean, let's kind of get into some of the detail. There were captives, captives of these skirmishes,
I was going to say Americans, but not Americans. What do we call these people that are not indigenous people?
Europeans, colonials.
Europeans that were brought into Native American societies against their will, and decided it's what they wanted. They're like, I'm not going back. And there was a lot of accounts of that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. They kind of fell in love with the way of the people of the United States, the native indigenous people.
Yeah.
And that's fascinating because there's no accounts of the Native American tribal people ever going back to, want to stay with the colonialists after having been captured and let go, for example. But the number of accounts of the European settlers, the colonialists, wanting to stay and not wanting to go back to European culture there's tons of them.
Yeah. It's, what is it? Just community, value of life. It was just different pace of life. Basically, the entire book is about community and how important community is, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess those people felt that their way of life was more fulfilling than the colonialists' way of life.
Yeah, I mean, the hyper individualization that we are experiencing today just makes it hard for us to live that and to be that. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think we'll ever make that a priority and go back to it, or do you think we're just kind of doomed to not? Do you think community is important?
It's hard for me because my family structure, my family culture is unique because we celebrate a lot. We get together a lot.
You have a lot of cousins that are your age that you're very close with, which I think is kind of rare.
Yeah.
You actually have like a community that you've been kind of put into.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I feel very fortunate in that way, but it's affected us in the same way too. Mm-hmm. The amount we get together is so little. Even just living, in a household, in a nuclear family away from your other family just makes it hard to get together.
You lived with your cousins at one point.
Yeah, I lived with them for 10 years.
3 or 4 cousins, yeah.
And so even for us, it's hard. But to me, to see your family growing up, how your family did it, you took it to another level than my family did. Yeah. And my wife's family, even just their nuclear family, when they get together, it's just siblings, mom, dad, stuff like that.
Yeah.
They take it to another level. So those groups that are, really have a focus on community, overall still do it so well. And so that's why it's tough for me to say, because I've known the extension of a family with my cousins. Yeah. But I think I had a unique experience compared to a lot of other people.
I agree. I've met your family. They're the best. Okay, so in the book, I really wish you came more prepared. So before we came on, Daniel said, do you want me to come in with some quotes and read them to you? And I said, yeah. And he said, okay, cool. Do you want me to tell them to you ahead of time? I said, no. And he took that as, I'm not going to do any research.
I thought he said, don't bring quotes.
Yeah. Come on, I wanted so,
I got them all up here.
One part that stuck out to me was the Blitz in England. I don't know if you remember that part.
100%. Fascinating.
So during the Blitz, it was German warplanes that were going over England. Is that correct? And they were bombing London, I think. And during that time, a lot of, I guess, mental health problems went away. And the way the sociologists and researchers and people anticipated the British to act was the exact opposite in the way that they acted. So they thought that the society would be in a panic. They thought there'd be infighting. They thought there'd be depression, suicide, violence, theft. But literally the exact opposite occurred, which is unbelievable. And it I don't know, it makes me think, like, because one thing I stay up nightmarishly about is, like, what happens if shit gets real here? Because it could potentially get real here. And I never wanted to live in wartime. I'm a little bitch. Like, I want to live peaceful. Like if I don't have a shower for 3-4 days, I'm not trying to like fight my neighbors. I'm not trying to fight for resources. Like it's not in me to be that kind of guy. I'm not competitive in that way. But it was interesting how it went down in the Blitz, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I teach high school, so I tell people often the one thing that would unite our world would be war with aliens.
We are a common enemy.
Yeah, our world is divided in so many ways. Yeah, common enemy would bring us together overnight.
Right.
Yeah, the ability of humans to create in groups quickly is fascinating.
Yep.
By having just things in common like a common enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would dread that. But reading that chapter, I mean, the statistics from that chapter were wild. The levels of happiness were higher during the Blitz.
Because people were coming together, bringing their resources together. And then what it sounded like was like life continued. Like people they were still going to work. They were still trying to do things, going to school. There was this high level of anxiety at all times, but they just went on with their lives and came together as a community at the same time.
The amount of commitment they had for each other was through the roof.
Right.
Because they were thinking from a lens of survival.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no more human, raw thing than that, from what it seems. Right. I don't think I've experienced that.
No.
So I can't say what it is and what it isn't. But from what they described it as, it sounded like that was like a supreme experience to have to like rely on each other to such a deep perspective.
Years after the Blitz, some people look back on it and were like, I miss those times.
Yeah. And that's what the fascinating part about that is how that led into his critique or his understanding as enlightening us about PTSD and troops that come back home from different stints
Vietnam
in the military.
Yeah.
And his argument that he has a lot to back up is that the PTSD, the issues that a lot of veterans deal with when they come home, a lot of people like you and I who haven't served, we just assume it's from having seen people die or seen traumatic events,
their experiences,
or having things like that happen to you or to people that you loved, and when you come back, it's hard to readjust to life, to get the negative memories or the sadness from your brain. And his argument is that the vast majority of PTSD isn't rooted in trauma; it's rooted in the depression caused by missing your squad. Yeah. By missing your people.
Yeah.
You're so in tight with your platoon.
Yeah.
With your group. There's no better way to live than that, from what they say.
Yeah. So to take a step back, I feel like we're describing the concept of this book kind of poorly, but we've only been talking for 10 minutes or so. But essentially, we've evolved to be around community. So when these men are in war times with a community, they feel weirdly more fulfilled than ever because it's the first time they've been in a community together. I think there was one part in the book where the guy says, I was by myself on a rooftop, like you were in Singapore or whatever, and I felt more scared than when I was with 10 guys sleeping side by side and bombs were going around off on me. So yeah, a lot of people that come back from war are actually depressed that they no longer have that brotherhood that they once had, which is insane. We're doing everything wrong, Daniel. We're doing everything wrong. Everyone's fucking depressed in the United States.
Yeah.
Everyone's anxious. No one's fulfilled.
Yep.
People are more happy at war than they are coming back living their 9-to-5 lives where they work all day and they're bombarded by media and noise all day. What are we doing, man? What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. And a military discount and a patchwork healthcare system is not what they want or deserve.
Right. Right. That doesn't fulfill them.
Yeah.
To give a half-hearted thank you for your service.
Yeah, we don't know.
To get on an airplane isn't going to do it.
We don't know what they felt.
No. No.
Yeah, and so the paying lip service, the things that we try to throw at veterans.
It's almost insulting.
Like we know. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's almost like when you're sad and it's your 40th birthday and everyone's like, "Happy birthday," and you're just like, "Leave me alone."
Dang, 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Whew. Feeling good?
It's fine.
Dude, all these numbers after 35 are the same.
Everything's fine. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. All right, what else we got? Let's just flip through the book. Let's just flip through the book.
Oh yeah, we got so much to get into here.
What do you think about Indian people? I'm not a fan of the music, the flutes.
Nope, Indian food, fantastic.
Great.
I'm eating Indian food tomorrow for lunch.
Really? Where at?
We're doing a little potluck at school actually. That's
Okay.
that's the dish I'm bringing.
Oh, you're making it?
No, I'm bringing it from Zyka.
To Kabe?
Mm-mm. So, I'm a new father, about 2 years in.
I wanted to close with that, but let's go with it now.
One of the fascinating things, because this is one of the things from the book that like struck me.
Yeah.
When they're talking about community.
Yeah.
One of the things that he brought up, and this is, I believe, in the first chapter when it's talking about more natural ways of living that our ancestors were getting into.
Sleeping together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Our society, we're in a rush to like get kids into their own room.
Yeah.
Like 6 months, all right? Their own bed, their own room.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, our ancestors would be appalled.
Yeah.
Appalled, ashamed at us for subjecting our loved ones, our young loved ones, who all they want is love, care. All they need is love, care. And we're going to put them in their own room in the dark with some stuffed animals and say good luck.
Somehow that's better.
And I read this right like a month before he was born, and I talked to my wife about it, and we were like, oh my goodness. And so now we still did his own bed thing, but now we're just quick to go in there. We don't let him like cry it out. We went through the phase where we tried and it didn't work. Yeah. We tried it a couple times. So we were like thinking back to the book, like, man, this is for our ancestors who would have like slapped us in the face.
Yeah.
Like, go hug your damn child. Yeah. They're scared and they need freaking love right now.
That made me think of a few things. When I was growing up on the weekends, me and my cousins and my brother used to stay at my grandma's. I don't know why. My childhood's a blur in so many ways, but we would stay at my grandma's. And I'm pretty sure some nights all 5 of us would just sleep side by side on the floor. It's not like we didn't have resources. We weren't like dirt poor or anything like that. But like I just think of those days so fondly, you know what I mean? And it's like humans in general, we're so quick to advance, but we don't know what we're advancing towards, and we're taking away such value from, like, even with like not chat GPT, but like AI, right? Yeah. Self-driving cars. Let me do self-driving cars instead. This is a Malcolm Gladwell theory. You may have heard of it, but like self-driving cars, amazing in so many ways, right? But what about the joy of driving a car? Right? Some of my best, fondest memories were driving a car, listening to music by myself when I was 16, 17, 24, 28, driving to a date, whatever, driving to downtown. Now you're taking that away from people. So that's like a fulfillment quotient that's just gone from humanity, right?
But what if you aren't fulfilled by driving?
Fair.
I'm gonna play the devil's advocate.
No, that's a fair point.
I can't wait for the future of getting to relax in the car.
That's fine. But that's like, what if you don't enjoy sleeping with their cousins on the floor? It's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like WALL-E. Remember WALL-E? Have you seen WALL-E?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like we just keep advancing, but we're not thinking about like what truly fulfills us.
So you're talking about the authentic connection to the thing. That's what matters.
Yes.
The authentic connection to the thing or the action.
The thing
is what matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's a good point. Yeah, I don't have the authentic connection to vehicles, so I'm like, it's just an A to B thing. Give me the A to B somehow.
You're not a driver?
No.
Okay.
No.
You are very pragmatic in a lot of ways. You're pragmatic.
I went through my car phase as a teenager. I loved the way they looked. I had big dreams about my future vehicles, and it just disappeared. My pragmatism set in.
I'm gonna buy you a Lambo and see if that shit still sticks.
I mean, I have my Range Rover dreams. I've got I like
90s
cars.
or modern.
I think Range Rover is one of those young me dream cars that still has maintained its beauty.
Do you want the new one or the old one? I want the old one.
I'm fine with new. They still look fantastic.
Okay. You know what? You still look fantastic.
Thank you.
You're very
Love
welcome.
you, dog. Oh yeah, so that got us really thinking about, raising our child to be hyper individualistic, the American way, or like really rely on what we're feeling in our heart that is the right thing to do. And so that little example of just listening to our kid cry for 20 seconds and like we got to go in there, versus just thug it out for 10 minutes, so let him cry.
Let me give you
we chose to give the love.
Something I think about often. Let's just go racial with it. It's fine. You're fine, right?
Yeah.
If
I'll talk about anything.
Say negative things about white people, you don't.
Absolutely
You're
not.
Not a very typical white person. You're very
we're here to critique. We're here to critique.
Well, and it's not necessarily white, because there's different white, right? But like this concept of like, once they're 18, get out of my house, be, like, what the fuck is that?
Oh yeah, call it what it is, man.
Like, why can't, like, my mom, for instance, or literally any of my aunts, like, wants my cousins to live with her. My mom, if I was like, tomorrow, I was like, Mom, can I live with you as a 40-year-old man? She'd be like, yeah, when do you want to come? Right? But there's this Anglo perspective that's like, when you're 18, actually some black people have the same thing too, right? It's a very Western thing. When you're 18, you're out.
Yeah.
And I can't even comprehend how a parent, like, could you do that to Luca? I can't see you being like, you're 18, get the fuck out of my house. Like,
that's where my wife and I go really back and forth, because she's like that too. It's so foreign to her to leave the house at 18.
Right.
So we've been going back and forth about that.
Okay.
Our mindset is this: we want to make sure that he has a strong connection to want to be home at whenever he wants to.
Right.
And we hope that it's feasible.
Right.
If he goes to college in another state or lives abroad, as long as it's in his heart that he loves us and he misses us.
Sure.
But if it's not feasible or pragmatic to come home, that's okay.
Right.
But at the same time, training him to go out and just be good at this society's game is our instinct, at least mine.
Yeah.
And, experiences, hone your skills at all times. Like everything we're doing is like we're practicing for the future. And I'm like,
yeah.
What the hell's going on? He's 19 months old,
Right. Yeah.
Like,
what are we doing?
He jumped this high off the ground, and I was like,
NBA,
yes.
Here we go.
He can jump.
Contest. 2030, let's go.
Exactly. So I'm like, and she always calls me on that. Like, it's so wild. Speaking of this, dude, she's like, what is it with white people always asking, is he right-handed or left-handed? She's like, every one of your aunts or uncles. I don't think
that's a white thing.
Okay.
I think that's an athlete thing.
Exactly. I was
your
like,
family is into sports.
Exactly.
And you're hyper into sports. You and I joked very young. Like I said, let's go half on a point guard or something.
Yeah.
So we think about that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's not from a sports family. So she's
no,
like, why do all your aunts and uncles ask if he's right or left-handed? That's so foreign to her.
You've never played football. You wouldn't know. It's fucking important.
I was like, you see, well, if you're lefty, you can play certain positions in baseball, which is a big flex because there's not that many lefties.
Quarterback.
Golf, it's 50-50. Quarterback,
it doesn't matter.
Whatever.
Tennis. Yeah.
So she's like, huh? Why does it matter? So
you wouldn't understand, babe.
But that's just another example of cultures collide, and you figure things out. I've worked at a high school that is predominantly students whose ancestors come from Latin America, or who have been in the United States long enough that the border crossed them. They didn't cross the border, and so being a minority racially in my school, I've adapted and learned and figured things out about different groups and different cultures. Yeah. And I've always said for years that there's a lot of benefit to the hyper individualism, or to the individualism.
To have your back a little bit on that.
You know, but yeah, like taking from both, like
Yeah.
our way forward is to take the best from both, you know, just to finish that thought. And
No, that's totally fine. I think the kicking out the kid at 18 is insane. But one thing that drives me nuts, and I don't even know if this is cultural, but just to have your back on the, like, well, let's make sure he's independent at the same, like, that's what I'm getting from you, right? It's like, okay, he could stay with us, he could love us, but let's make sure he also has his own shit going. It's kind of what I took from you.
Yep.
This, you might know this better than me, being your position, but like, well, your school's different, but there's this like push. I want to say push. Kids don't want to drive anymore, right?
True.
And they're low key. This goes back also to my buddy Anton. We got to do one with me, you, and Anton. It irks me that kids aren't partying and driving fast and like, I'm like, go get in trouble, you fuckers.
It's so real.
It's
so real.
But agree with me that it irks you a little bit.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. The amount of joy experienced by modern teens is appallingly low.
Oh,
and that's what I tell them to their faces all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is something we need to address, guys.
Yeah.
They're not having nearly as much fun as we did.
Well,
that's for sure.
I'm sure. Have you read The Anxious Generation? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I haven't read it yet.
My newest finish. Yeah.
I haven't read it yet. So maybe do you want to make that the next one?
That'd be a good one. Yeah.
Anxious Generation will be the next book. Please pick that up. We'll have that podcast out. Let's say June of 2025. Okay, that works. That checks out. Anxious Generation. You know, it's technology, it's social media, it's lack of community, it's going to the phone instead of your friend, right? You and I, how much fun did we have in middle school together, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would our middle school, high school been the same if we had phones? I don't think we'd have as much fun.
No.
I find that hard to believe.
We'd be these same kids. You know, we're not more joyful people.
Yeah.
We were just raised in circumstances that allowed for more joy.
Yeah.
You know, we would be just like these kids if we were in their position.
Yeah.
One of the activities that I do with my students is to have them put their phones away, close their computers, and just have a conversation. And we call it Blast of the Past. And I explained why. I was like, guys, 10 years ago, my biggest challenge at school was to quiet kids down.
Yeah.
And now my biggest challenge is to have kids speak.
Wow.
And to communicate with each other, to goof off, to clown, to have some fun, to be noisy until the teacher makes them quiet down.
Damn.
It's wild.
Do you remember we made substitute teachers quit midday?
You need to fill me in, yo. You know, these are where your details, your mind works differently than mine. I've heard of this. Tell me the details.
I can't remember. I just remember on a couple of occasions we had substitute teachers and we would just be so disrespectful and crazy that we made them quit midday.
No doubt.
And like the principal would come and just be like, "Okay, guys, I'll take care of you the rest of the day. Mr. Lavons is gone for the day."
Yeah, 6th and 7th grade.
Real quick, hold on. I'm sorry. I got to stop it. And we're just going to jump right back in. I just got to press pause, and then we're going to there's my alarm right there.
What is that, a kumquat in your beer? You remember that? No. I think that was Bud Light's attack on Blue Moon. Like right when Blue Moon came out, Bud Light did a whole campaign.
Well, we're live. Tell the joke to the...
After Blue Moon came out, I think it had to have been Budweiser, but some other beer company,
like some American macro brew.
Yeah, a macro brew. Their ad campaign was clowning any type of fruit, and they were asking for, you know, give me a beer with a kiwi in it. And at the end, the guy's like, "What is that? A kumquat in your beer?"
There's so much. First of all, great ad. Okay. First of all, great ad. Second of all, awful ad, right? And let me tell you why. Because it's supposed to be a simpleton that's drinking a Bud Light. How the fuck would he know what a kumquat is?
Good point. Yeah, that marketing team was not the guy drinking the Bud Light. That's for sure. That marketing team knows
Kumquats
too
are
much.
Fire, bro.
They know too much.
They know too much. Can you turn yourself up and touch,
Yeah.
please?
Okay.
Shit, I was gonna say something about macro brews and micro brews. Oh, I am so sick of micro brews. I'm sick of the microbrew culture. I just want to drink a fucking Blue Moon or a Bud Light or a Stella or a Guinness. I don't want to drink another beer the rest of my life.
That's it?
That's it.
Those are the ones you'll drink?
What did I say? Stella. Might be one or two others. They'll probably be domestic.
Okay. But the rest are trash?
I don't want to drink a microbrew. I don't want to drink a cranberry pumpkin bullshit.
Bro, I thought you said macro brew.
No, I don't want. No, I will drink any macro brew.
Okay.
I do not want to drink a microbrew beer once for the rest of my life. Let me tell you
once.
more. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear about your microbrew or your fucking
Bro, I
Manuka honey beer.
We have reached the tipping point.
I don't fucking care.
Yeah, I think we've reached the tipping point.
So is there anything on your That's Enough list? Every episode I ask someone what's on your That's Enough list. It could be big, could be small. Some people have gone as big as Trump. Some people have gone as small as microbrews.
Give me until at least the last question. I'm gonna have it answered. I'm gonna have it answered by the end of the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
good.
a slow processor.
Should we go back to Tribe? What do you got? What do you got?
Let's get back into it.
Let's get back into it. Let's crack the book up. Let's see here.
Yeah, so you read the book most freshly. I finished it a year or so ago. You read it a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. What popped out to you? Like, what stands out as the thing?
Is this the same guy that wrote Humans or whatever it's called? Hominids or whatever it's called?
Are you thinking Sapiens?
Sapiens.
No, but they relate a lot.
Okay, the names are similar, I feel like. I'll be honest with you. One thing that really popped out to me, this is kind of irrelevant. I can't remember how much I loved in reading. I haven't read a book since 2001. I love that it was a short book. This book is 160 pages, 140, 50 pages. I highly recommend it. I thought it was really interesting how he statistically, I'm lacking the word that I want to say, but really broke down the importance of community and how basically evolutionarily this has been how we've been raised, and that this brings us the most fulfillment, and it's basically in our nature to be in a community, and we've done everything in our society to break free of that. And I don't know how we go back, and I don't see a path back. So I really wonder what that means for us. I don't see a scenario in which we're it's I think here's the thing. We're going through a depression, it's, what's the word for it? We have a lot of depression, right? We have a lot of anxiety. We have a lot of the lonesomeness shit is through the roof, especially with young men, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the issues we're dealing with is simply, I truly believe, because we're not coming together as people. And then the author brought something forth about suicide rates going up. I forget where I was going with that, but yeah, I don't know. It's just
what's the solution? Is that what you're asking?
Huh?
What's the solution? I mean, that's what you're going.
Well, so I was thinking, and I was also thinking about so it's not really how tough life is, right? And I was thinking back to my first job when I was working at a group home, and how every morning I was with the same 7 to 12 kids, and I was with employees that I would see 5 days a week. We're all rough. We're all waking up. We all look like shit. And I even had a thought back then. I was making $12 an hour. I was like, these are the best days of my life. I remember thinking, I was 24, 25. I was like, I hate this job because how hard it is, but I will always cherish these. When I'm old, I will always cherish these days. And then I was thinking back to even working retail, because right now I just work for myself, by myself. I don't see anyone all day, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have a work community. Now, there's a lot of negative with the work community too. I've had terrible bosses. I've had terrible coworkers. There's a lot of like bullshit politics, right? But having a tribe to go to work with or something like that, and with work at home and all this, there's so much we're missing in our day to day. There would be days that I'd leave my group home work and I'd be like, that was amazing, just feel on cloud nine. And days I left my retail job and I was like, we're all experiencing the same thing. Maybe our common enemy was our boss or the clients, right? Like you were talking about the common enemy.
Emily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Welcome to my humble abode.
So, okay, so what's the question?
I don't have a question. But you do work at a school. So you actually have a tribe, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just little things like that.
Absolutely.
Me, right?
Yeah. That I mean, that's everything.
Yeah.
That gets into a couple of other books we could do in the future that touch on this too. It's been a common theme in a lot of like social science literature these last 15 years, I'd say. Our ability as humans to create tribes is a mental process. Having gone through hardship together, shared experiences.
Yeah. A lot of couples will come together quicker and like, rapidly accelerate their relationship if they've gone through trauma early together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is really interesting to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. In the future, we can go over there's other literature we can check out that has to do with some of the psychological research after World War II about how tribes, and not tribes, but group identity is created so quickly based on the perception of being on a team, of being on a side, of having a common identity. Identity doesn't have to be skin color. It doesn't have to be something obvious. It could be like
Team Turtles.
You're on
whatever.
my team. Yeah. They're on that team.
Right.
And it can be it's very frivolous.
We work at Gap. They work at Old Navy. Whatever.
Exactly. And so that's so sad because we're so fickle. Yeah. But it's like, it's also so enlightening and uplifting because we can solve this quickly. Yeah. We really can. And that's why like my mind goes to war with aliens. That would solve it in a heartbeat. Right. We don't want to go that route. Right. But
Why
it is that simple.
To be a common enemy? I
can't it is say that simple.
Shit. Say it.
Common enemy.
You say that like shit.
A common enemy.
Common enemy.
I didn't know that till right now. Good looking out.
I just look at younger people that I've worked with, and they don't have that. I feel it in them. I see it in them, and it just like it breaks my heart a little bit. And as I get older, I don't have it like I once had, and I don't know how to build it. You know what I mean? I feel like I will one day build that, especially once I have kids or whatever. It just feels like this thing we're losing out on, and I can't say I'm optimistic about it, right?
You're not optimistic about us coming up with that way, that thing to do it?
No, I mean I would love to. It's almost like in mental health and psychology, there's like things that we didn't know and now we know. So maybe if this becomes sort of a common knowledge taught thing, whether it be in our education system or on TV or whatever, it's like, hey, you need to, like, one thing I'm a huge proponent of is like having a boys' night. Yeah. Like that to me is a super important thing. Like I think you need to get together with 3 to 10 guys and just have a testosterone-filled idiotic night. Same thing is true for females. That's been in Persian culture. Women come together and they dance together and shit and just hang out and just make fun of whatever. But it's not in our literature. It's not in our education that this is something that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. That's the key right there. Education, and as cheesy as that sounds, it would be probably something for a future episode. Yeah. But the school system is the answer. The one thing we all have in common in our society is going to school. And so, not to take it to any sort of deep level right now, we'll get to that in the future. Yeah. So let's take it here. Yeah. REMSL, the Rocky Mountain School of Expeditionary
Learning. Where you and I met.
Where we met. Yeah. That is a hint to the answer.
Wow.
This school was a public charter, and it brought kids from 4 different districts together. Yep.
Denver, all races, all income levels.
Yeah, Denver, Littleton, Cherry Creek, and Aurora.
Right? Yeah.
and it was very diverse.
Yep.
And it was based on outward bound experiences. It was based on an outward bound models, which is
one of the
a charter network. It's a nonprofit.
One of the it had like principles, and I think one of the principles was literally community.
Yeah.
Can we look that up real quick?
Yeah, it definitely was.
What was it
we
called?
had community
How
meetings
do I
every
Google
day.
this real quick?
We had
literally
community
had-
meetings every day.
We had community meetings
Every day.
You know what's crazy is how for granted I took this shit when we were there.
Dude, as a teacher now, I am amazed at the beauty of our education.
So could you explain to the people at home what a community meeting was at our school?
All right, now you're testing the limits of the details of my memory.
Little bit of background. So
Yeah.
me and Daniel went to a school that was kindergarten through 12th grade. It was an outward bound school. It had a lot of principles. A lot of them were adventure based, nature based. I think Ralph Waldo Emerson, is that the figurehead for this shit? A lot of it I hated growing up. I despised, but
You see this man in a tent? He was in a tent multiple times a year in the
I
middle
was
of
in a tent.
in the middle of the Rockies.
I was in a tent. You know, me and Andy got into a fight in a tent once. I put him in a chokehold. It's the only time I ever beat up
man.
Andy, because he would always beat me up.
Was he drunk?
No,
How did you
we
put
were
Andy in a
sixth
chokehold?
grade. Doesn't matter.
Only 6th grade. Okay, never mind.
Can you explain real quick segue, the clay balls at the gym?
The what?
The clay balls at the gym. We used to go to the art room and grab clay balls, like nice clay. And we
Say
would go
clay
to-
balls. Say clay balls.
Clay balls. That sounds crazy.
Yeah, the clay balls. Okay.
Clay, balls. We would take them into our basketball court, which is our gymnasium. It was me, Daniel, and Andy, who were both baseball players, and we would take like little bits and just launch them at each other in a totally dark.
I forgot about that, dude. Fuck you guys, man. I forgot about that.
And then there'd be
I never wanted to participate in that.
You were
Fuck.
all in.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
there'd be like,
God damn it.
little like the next day you'd walk into the gym, turn the lights on, and be like, do, like little bullet holes across.
Just
the
clay all over the walls. Yeah, I loved it, but I hated getting hit by Andy. I wasn't
sniper.
I wasn't a pitcher. That dude threw so goddamn hard.
Just watching him throw taught me to throw,
Yeah.
because I had to, out of like sheer anger, match his speed.
Yeah, you sucked at throwing. That was your weakness.
I
That definitely
feel
is
like
that.
I'm a good thrower.
Now you
Not
might
compared
be.
to you and Daniel.
Now you might be.
I think, okay, anyway. So we would have community meetings. And in the mornings, we would take, I think in our case, it was 6th grade through 12th grade.
Yeah.
And they'd put us all in a room. And every day, we would just discuss what's going on in the community.
Yeah.
Right?
hmm
And it was fun.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
It was what the school was based on.
Yeah.
But yeah, now as a teacher,
Yeah.
I look back at those experiences, and it's hard to implement a lot of the things in a regular
You're going
public
up
school
against
system.
a system that's like not necessarily conducive to that.
Right, absolutely. But the ideas are there for a really beautiful school system.
Do we need to start a
K-12.
school?
Do we need to start a school?
You and I?
No, a school won't make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
We need to convince entire districts to change.
How are we going to do that?
I don't know.
That's another conversation for another day.
Absolutely. But there's absolutely. It's a conversation for
quick,
another day. But that's the key right there.
Yeah.
Get kids growing up together. That's the solution. Get them to grow up together. If they grow up together, the problems solve themselves.
Yeah, you gotta
They
put
will
those funds away.
authentically solve the problems themselves if they grow up together, because then they'll be invested in one another,
Yeah.
just like you and I are.
I think exposure to other ethnicities and other people is huge.
Yeah.
I always thought everyone was exposed to everyone. Like I thought everyone
So did I.
You know, I don't know. Like
So did I, dude.
yeah, and then you grow up and you're like, oh, you haven't met like a Chinese guy before? Like, oh, you've never met like a ghetto Chinese guy before? Like, yeah, they're out there. Like they wear FUBU and like shave their heads. Like
Yeah, that's what. Yep.
You know what I mean?
That's what college felt like a little bit.
And you grow up and you're like, damn, you just don't have it. You don't have that exposure.
Mm.
Man. One more Brimsel story real quick. Unless you got something. Go.
No, go.
No, you go.
I was going to talk community one more time, but
Go community.
no, we'll finish with the positive note.
Okay. When at Rimsel, I feel like Rimsel is going to get sued by the end of this pod, but I don't care anymore.
They're still thriving, by the way.
Are they really?
They're
Good
out there
for
doing
them.
their
Whatever.
thing.
I
Yeah.
don't care. This school was so crazy. First of all, remember putting condoms on cucumbers?
Was that in sex ed?
It was like in 5th grade.
I remember sex ed vividly.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of students don't take sex ed. So the fact that Rimsel did it, I was like, another notch. They did it.
Early.
Yeah. It was
early.
It was 5th grade, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was early.
Super early.
Yeah.
But we had, I think in 9th grade, we had a class about alcohol, and teachers were taking shots of tequila.
Dude, I tell this story to so many people.
And they were like doing their reaction times after X amount of tequila shots.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that?
9th grade, science class, teachers going shot for shot. The whole high school just taking notes. Scientific experiment, hypothesis, all the steps. Our subjects are the math teacher and his student teacher. Shot for shot.
Meanwhile, they're like
They got wasted.
They're listening to LMFAO, just having the best school day ever.
Yeah. He went to coach sports after that. He was a coach somewhere.
Yeah.
That was such a crazy experience.
Ridiculous.
How did that happen in a school?
Insane. But at the time, it was just like another day.
Yeah.
Another day at our school.
Yep, absolutely. Did that encourage us to try alcohol, or did that?
1,000%. They looked like they were having so much fun.
Is that why we?
It didn't. Just,
Is that why we drank alcohol that year?
tell the story.
So that had to have been after it, but we ran across the street at lunch.
Yeah.
Snuck in our buddy's place.
Major Street.
Well, he was there, but his mom wasn't.
Yeah.
And we had wine for lunch.
That was the first time I drank alcohol.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah. 9th grade. Yeah. And that community meeting after lunch
the
that
community
day.
meeting after that lunch.
Yeah. I remember.
I do too.
Yep.
You look fucked up. You look
Yeah.
happy.
I was. I am. No, yeah, and the science class after that community meeting, I got into some sort of philosophical scientific debate with the science teacher.
Drunk.
Yeah.
Don?
Yep, Don.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Alexis and Hillary afterwards were like, "You fell off the ball, man." Yeah. They were like,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, you like, because you were a little shy, you like kind of
Yeah, we
gave him a
got
piece of your mind?
well, it was just a discussion about something, philosophical or scientific. I don't know.
That's interesting. Let's
But that was definitely one of the most fun days of my young life.
let's do a little fatherhood, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
What's it like?
It's fantastic. Yeah, it's freaking amazing. I just think about hanging out with my little guy all day at work.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I have a good job. I teach high school, so I'm doing good stuff throughout the day, and I enjoy it. But in the back of my mind, I'm just like, man, I'm excited to
Can't
get
wait
home.
to get home.
Yeah. But he's in a phase of being a little shit.
But you still love him.
But it's hard to get mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's 20 months, starting to talk a lot, move a lot.
Do you see, because I've hung out with him, do you see some of you in him? Or is he just like his own entity? He seems like his own entity.
He's a mystery. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a mystery.
I got to say, I don't see any you or Alex in him. He's just kind of his own.
Yeah, he's a mystery.
He's his own
sure.
little guy. You know what I mean?
We both look at each other like,
What
does he get that from you?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't get it from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even asked my mom about it the other day. I was like, was I like that?
No.
She's like, nope.
Yeah, physically.
And
obviously.
she's like, I wasn't like that. So we're not sure.
Yeah. That's it. I'm glad you said that because that's kind of how I see him. He's just kind of like his own
Yeah,
little weird.
we were both pretty shy, cautious, quiet kids.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's pretty rambunctious. He's out
Yeah.
there. But yeah, he's full of energy in life
Super curious.
and curious.
Super
And
tall.
yeah, it's been so much fun to bring life into the earth and to feel some of these feelings that we read about in a lot of books. And at the end of the day, continuing life and doing our best to make sure life is healthy and happy and safe feels very purposeful.
He feeds you. He feeds you like energy.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Oh, that's dope. That's enough list?
That's enough. That's enough. With ice in your tequila.
Okay.
Next time you need to go neat with me, buddy.
Okay.
All right.
Can I give you a that's enough thought? Can I ask you to be negative?
God damn it. So I can think of another enough?
No, I'll give it to you, but I want you to just fucking go.
All right, go. We'll see what happens.
It's tough. It's a tough one. People are they have a high opinion of you right now. You just did the kid thing. Like, oh, he's so sweet. He's so handsome. He's got the glasses. He's a teacher, handsome man. They love you. Bro, they love you. I want you to make them hate you. And I'm going to give you the prompt. You and I have so much in common. Let's end with the you and I in common thing, but I'm going to give you your that's enough list. Dogs.
Oh, yeah. Dogs are over. Thank you. That's an easy one. Cats all day.
Realize how controversial?
Yes. It's okay. Cats all day. Let me just give one example. He's a cat guy too.
I'm a cat guy. I dislike dogs also.
But he's like, you gonna pet my cat? I was like, no. Pet my cat. I was like, I don't want to pet your cat. Finally, I'm like, okay, I like cats, so I'll go pet it. But
that's a dog person thing to do. Say, go pet my dog.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna go pet your cat, but I would never do this to a dog because a dog's gonna get it twisted.
Yeah.
A dog's gonna think I like them now, and that's not what I'm about. A cat knows exactly what's going on. You're cute. I'm gonna touch you. But this is nothing more than that.
A dog is like a girl named Bethany who's like, if you say hi to her, at work, she's like, hi. And she'll tell you all about her weekend and like ask you about your weekend. But you're like, I'm just trying to get the coffee. Like, could you pass the cream?
Yeah. So dogs are a little over the top.
Next thing you know, she's licking you in the office. It's like,
yeah, dogs are a little over the top. They're cool to look at.
Yeah.
I'll say what's up to them.
They're cool to look at.
But, don't want to own one.
Dogs, they're cool to look at. No, I love that you're anti-dog. It's really hard to find anti-dog people, especially in Colorado. I'm super, super anti-dog. And really what I dislike is I'll go outside and they'll start barking at me.
Right away?
Bro, I'm going out to mail. I'm going out to work. I'm not a morning person. And I walk outside and the dog will just start barking at me.
What is it about you?
No, I think it's don't they bark at maybe they hate me. I don't know. But do you know what I say?
Well, yeah, dogs are all... Yeah, that's true. Dogs are all pretty dumb, so yeah.
But you know what I say to a dog that barks at me?
What?
In the morning, I say, what? I say, huh? What's wrong with you?
That is you.
And I don't think I'm wrong.
And their owner looks at you like, you talking to me? You're like, no, I'm talking to your dog.
But I'm not rude for saying that to the dog.
No.
Because the dog started it. No. I'm minding my business going to work.
Absolutely.
And that is annoying.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you for serving me up that one.
You're welcome.
What's that segment called again?
What's it called? It's called the That's Enough list.
That's enough.
Anything else on your That's Enough list?
No, we're sticking with dogs for today. Okay. Don't let me go in.
Oh shit, my battery's running out. Fuck. All right, thanks for listening.